Factory 5 Roadster 6882. Let's talk about the Fitech. I've got the 400 horsepower unit here, and I think I've got it wired up pretty much how it's going to be. There's a couple connections that I need to finish off, but for the most part, got it connected. So what I have here is the Ron Francis harness in my Cobra. With that, I'm using the sending unit. This is the cam or the carburetor harness here. So there's only a couple wires that I'm using here. One is that I need to have power to the white wire on the Fitech at all times. And from what I've read, that can be this electric choke wire, which is the brown wire of the harness. Electric choke, written upside down, perfect. All right, so there are two different gauges. The white wire is an 18 gauge and the brown wire is a 14 gauge. So I'm just going to get some connections to make that proper. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to use the orange wire in my Ron Francis harness, and that is the coil EFI crank, and that should have power to it at all times also. So there's a couple options there, and this is a 12 gauge wire, I believe. Yes, a 12 gauge wire. So I would need to go from 18 to 12 gauge. So I need to get the right connection for that. So I'm going to get a couple connections and make sure they're correct. All right, also from that harness, from the Ron Francis carburetor harness, is this purple wire. The purple wire I have going to my coil. This is the Summit coil, 85050. I think it's 0.4 ohms and 40,000 volts. The reason I got it is because I've got the Summit ready to run distributor, and in the reading they mentioned to put it with that coil. I will eventually move this coil, I think, over to the firewall right over here, try to hide some of these wires. But we're going to do a first start this weekend, so I'm trying to get this going. All right, so the blue wire of the Fitech is on the negative of the coil. Also, the purple wire is on the negative of the coil, and then from the distributor, the red wire is to the positive and the orange wire is to the negative. And then the ground wire from the distributor, I've made a temporary ground there for the start. Okay, those are the only three wires that come out. This is what comes out of the distributor, and then this is the pigtail that plugs into it, and then those are the only three wires that come out. All right, so purple wire to the Ron Francis harness, the blue wire to the Fitech harness, and this is where the Fitech harness separates out here. All right, so we've seen the white wire, we've seen the blue wire. The black wire actuates the air conditioner if we had one, so we're not going to use that. That is in case the air conditioner kicks in, it will up your RPM. All right, the orange wire is to the fuel pump, and the red wire is to the battery, and the yellow wire is to the fan. All right, so we're not going to have the fan on this startup, so that's coiled up also. All right, the red wire is, I started running it to the back to my battery, but I didn't have enough wire, and I thought, well, since I ran the wire from the battery up here to the starter solenoid, I can just run this Fitech red one here as well. So that's what I've done. The other wires on here are from the Ron Francis harness, and this one as well, but we'll talk about that later. All right, the Fitech, that is pretty much the wiring from this plug-in harness, and then this plug-in harness is just hardwired. It's a couple fuses in line, but it's hardwired right into the unit. Okay, there's the temperature sensor plugged right into the also goes right into the Fitech unit. Let's see what else. We've got back here a couple pigtails here, and that goes into the Fitech computer. And then we have vacuum lines. All right, so this vacuum line down here, 3/8 I believe, will go to the brake booster. So I'm going to run it out, run it through the foot box, and come from the back side, similar to those reservoir hoses. This one I believe is for the advance, and so I have that going to my distributor. Now, I've never done anything as far as setting up a distributor, so this may or may not be right, but I believe it's right. This guy right here, I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to find out what that is. There's a couple other guys over here that I don't know that I'm going to need, but I'll check later on. For the startup, I don't think I will need, but I'm definitely going to check. All right, this is the return fuel line. This is going to be a 1/4-inch fuel line return all the way back to the gas tank. Now this is 3/8 right now. There's a number 6 male JIC on here. So this is a female swivel with a hose barb on here. And then this is a 3/8 hose, and it goes down to the hard line where there's some compression fittings on the 1/4-inch hard line. And I should have turned on my flash, but that's where they are down there. That's from the hard line. From the 1/4-inch hard line is a compression fitting into an NPT thread, I believe, which then turns into a male JIC number 6. So on the hose, there's a female swivel number 6 JIC with a hose barb on the other side, number 6 hose barb, to be able to take that hose. All right, the other side is the supply line. This is also 3/8 right here, and it comes out of a hard line, which is 5/16 inch thick. And that's my supply line. All right, so supply line going in, return going out. Wiring is pretty much complete on this, I believe. And that is the Fitech setup that I have right now. So we're going to move on to other things, but that's a little summary of the Fitech.